I noticed that one of the things that we do is we work on the what we'll call the human condition. So I was at remember back in the early '80s, I was at a speaking event with about 200 entrepreneurs, and I asked people to raise their right hand as high as they could, and everybody did that. Then I asked them to raise it a quarter of an inch higher, and I said, "How come?" And they said, "Why? What is that about?" I asked you to raise it as high as you could, but nobody did. And how come you didn't stand up? How come you didn't jump on the chair? So there's this kind of like suppress button that people have on in life. If you look at people's faces in the subway, I rest my case. And what is this thing about playing your aces? We think that we have a scarcity about the kind of risks we can take, and what that means for you. And that is what that quote goes to, that people think the best they can is kind of like the lid that they have on. And there's always something that you can go beyond that.
That's great. Now, how or when was the vision of the company born or come into view? And what mindset did you adopt to achieve that? Just what you're speaking about for other people?
Well, I think the company's gone through, my vision has gone through several iterations. When I first started, I saw that in the late 70s, early 80s, a lot of people were passionate about, they wanted to do something other than work for a living, but they didn't know how to translate that into dollars and cents. So my mission was really to support people to turn their passion into business. So I worked with mostly small businesses. And then in the 80s and early 90s, it was really about how do you turn small businesses into money makers, and it was really about teaching people how to be capitalists. And now our mission is really about bringing leadership, bold and effective leadership now to business in the world. How do you have people be bold and effective in this kind of changing environment? So the vision has changed over time, and beginning to find people who would share that vision with me. And that's been what VSA is about, my partnership with Tony Smith and the rest of the consultants that we have on board.
Which is there's a connection there. You hooked Tony up with Angelo, because you were involved with Tony in
Tony and I knew each other from a men's weekend. We had done a men's weekend in 1982. I think it's now called the Sterling's Relationship Seminar, and we spent a weekend with about 200 guys, and we got to know each other very well over the next couple of years. And at one point, he was going to leave New York, and my brother had asked me a week before. He was doing a project with a group of union guys, Teamsters and management, and he says, I need a gorilla that can do it. I think I'm going to get killed. And and he says, I think I got just the guy, and I introduced him to Tony Smith, and the rest is history.
That was 1984.
1984, wow.